Dawson's Rambles.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. Welcome to my video where I'm going to be ranking every Power Rangers team-up special we have gotten. And there's basically 5 as of right now, and it's pretty self-explanatory. These are not ranking like all the team-ups, but just the ones that have to do with an anniversary year or season that had a special team-up that was outside of the norm of just, last team teams up with current team. Now, to start off, I do want to give an honorable mention to the Shattered Grid event from the comics. This wasn't a normal team-up like you see on screen, but it was really cool, and I think one of the coolest anniversary events we've ever gotten. It was really neat to see Power Rangers get a sort of, Crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinity War Gauntlet, Flashpoint type of storyline. A lot of fan service, but also a lot of really cool moments, lots of character moments, and it ended on a very character-driven note that also changed the course of a lot of the stories. So, it's really cool, and arguably I think is the best anniversary story we've gotten, but since it's not a traditional live-action team-up, I didn't feel like ranking it in this, but I thought it deserved a shout-out. Coming in at the bottom of the list, to the surprise of no one, unfortunately, is Super Mega Force / Legendary Battle. And I hate whenever I have to rank this or Legendary Battle, and it always goes at the bottom, because, while it deserves it in terms of the others being better, I think that there's just too much toxic hate at this season, in the series overall. It deserves criticism, and it was disappointing, but it's guys, just settle down. I mean, there's still people that are like, we need a petition to redo Megaforce. Just let it go. It wasn't that great, but it wasn't the worst thing to ever happen to humanity. But overall, it's not the greatest anniversary season. There's obviously missed opportunities. I honestly think Legendary Battle is a fun episode to watch if you take off all your fan expectations, and I'm sure that the kids that watched it had a good time because they didn't have to worry about what some entitled fans wanted. But it certainly was a lot of missed opportunities. The season overall being an anniversary season, that you very well could have had this idea of multiple returning characters and honoring these different legacies, really only had 2 or 3 cameos within the season, didn't take advantage of it at all. Legendary Battle was more of the proper team-up special episode that included a handful of Rangers. It largely just amounted to cameos, though, and didn't have as many meaningful or cool moments as others on this list. However, it's worth noting there was some stuff I liked. I mean, admittedly, it was kind of neat to see all these Rangers together, an image that probably would have been cooler if Toku hadn't oversaturated all the team-ups, but that's kind of a personal problem because if you didn't follow Sentai and Rider, you probably don't even know about all those team-ups with all the empty suits. Still, that's one of the biggest scale things we've done, and it's kind of cool to see visually. I always like the scene of them seeing all the different teams on the cliff. I always loved the rescue scene, seeing all the different Rangers rescue people. I know we lifted it from Gokaiger, but I loved the helmet overlays. I actually like what we did better in regards to the visuals. And I liked little moments in the extended cut, like Caron's I Love Being a Ranger. That was a nice little moment. My point is, while this is the worst one, it does have some nice moments, and I feel like we can at least appreciate those. Next on the list is Dimensions in Danger, which I think is an underrated special. It's not perfect, often gets criticized for the too much Tommy focus, and I don't disagree. It was nice we got a good mix of Rangers back for this, but hardly any of them had anything to do, which was unfortunate. However, as I've said in the past, I do appreciate that only the Rangers that were in this were in the battle, and we didn't just have a bunch of empty suits. I appreciated that, and I did appreciate the variety they got, and I also liked that the attention that was on the Rangers that weren't Tommy was this cool sort of multiversal council of Rangers, each representing kind of the prime dimensions of the main canon, which is main universe with Time Force, RPM universe with RPM, and Dino Charge universe with Dino Charge. And I liked that. And there was also a little bit of lead-in and foreshadowing it, which was really cool. And as I've said before, I think that this was still a cool celebration. And after the unfortunate passing of JDF, it's kind of nice, actually, that in retrospect this wound up being a pretty cool final tribute episode to him. Because as I've said, one of the things I liked about this episode in regards to celebrating an anniversary and legacy is one of the unique things about Power Rangers from Sentai is we have these characters that carried on in the series for a long time and took on different Ranger mantles, different than something like Maggiello becoming Goldbuster later. It's the same character, and then not only did Tommy continue for 5 seasons, but then he came back to be a mentor. So the idea of the Master Morpher and the transformations was a cool way of honoring that legacy, and also just a cool lore beat for the series, even though we still don't know where it comes from yet. But still, I thought that was overall cool, and not to mention, at this time, I didn't have very high expectations. I wasn't enjoying Ninja Steel that much. Most of the stuff they had done for team-ups and anniversaries had been mediocre at best, not to mention my exhaustion and all that type of stuff. So I had no expectations and was so pleasantly surprised by how awesome this actually was. Even little stuff like the Falcon Zord appearing, I didn't expect at all. So yeah, it's lower on the list, but I think it's underappreciated. It's not much like with what I talked about with Legendary Battle, even if you don't like it, it's not like every single frame is trash. There's still some cool stuff in there. Now, number 3, probably going to be controversial on this list to be lower, is Forever Red. I know Forever Red's a beloved episode. I do like it. I feel like it's one of those episodes of the fandom that everyone's like, oh my god, Forever Red, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, it's fine. Like, that's kind of the way I feel about it. I do enjoy it. I think it's a great celebration of the legacy in regards to anniversaries, as it was one of the first major ones we did. We got to see all the leaders, kind of a cool put together of different lore beats with, you know, you bring in Andros with a new Alpha and a new Mega Ship, and you have the plot revolving around Remnants of the Machine Empire awakening Serpentera. I like that idea. As I mentioned when I did my team-up review series, I always like to see the team-ups that incorporated the story and mythology of the series they were crossing over, and I like that they did that here. You know, it was cool to see everyone together. There were some fun and memorable moments. It's definitely, like, I can definitely see why it's beloved. I just always found it to be just fine. And it is clear that it was always meant to be a little bit longer, because if I recall, not only was this meant to have some elements that were going to tease what they possibly wanted to do for Hexagon, but also it was going to be a little bit longer in general, but I got cut, and I wish we could have seen what the full version would have been like, because it's very clearly rushed, but it's not their fault. It's not like they set out to make a short episode. It was just they got kind of cut off. Now, for the runner-up is the most recent one, Once and Always, which honestly, again, not perfect, but I really enjoyed it. It's a really unique one on this list, because all the other ones on this list more or less was about celebrating the overall legacy and bringing back multiple characters, even though like stuff like Legendary Battle primarily focused on Tommy in terms of like, this is mainly who's going to be talking to you. But you know what I mean, like it included more of a wide array of Ranger returns, and this was like kind of our return special, where it solely focused on MMPR. And despite the fact that we're kind of oversaturated with MMPR a lot of the time, it was kind of nice and interesting to do that. It was a cool special that evoked the spirit of the original with a little bit of a modern update. I loved getting to see characters like Billy and Zach in the forefront because, as I mentioned previously, they're characters that don't get a lot of focus, not to mention characters like Zach haven't returned a long time. There was a nice attention to detail, some really cool moments. It was clear there was a lot of care put into certain things like bringing Wasserman back and thinking about, like I said, little lore details and trying to keep consistent. And even though I'm not Min's biggest fan in regards to the performance, I love the idea of the character and the idea of the story honoring Trini's actress, and it kind of gives this emotional focal point for both the characters and the actors. Not perfect, but I really enjoyed it. Now, this is my number one. I think it's always going to be my number one for a long time, which is Once a Ranger. And I want you to remember, this is my personal list. This isn't I ranked it based on an algorithm list. This is just my personal taste. Like, yes, I did think about when ranking this, which ones were better at celebrating the anniversary, but it ultimately came down to which one was more exciting as an anniversary special for me. And that's Once a Ranger, which I think gets unfortunately held back by people's hang-ups about the Overdrive Ranger team quitting. I've gone on about that. You can watch my review. It'll be linked here, so I talk about and defending that. But setting that aside, because it's not what's important about the anniversary special, this one was just so great for me. You know, this was back to a time when I wasn't so cynical about team-ups because we weren't oversaturated with them in Toku, oversaturated with talking about them, when the returning characters and team-ups were special, before, you know, team-ups and fandom turned me into a darker, cynical person. And so it kind of has nostalgia for that, but it still holds up for me. It has so many awesome moments. I still get chills watching the Ranger intro scenes, you know, even though it was cool to have the Wasserman, you know, score back for Once and Always. For me, it was way cooler to hear each Ranger's individual theme when they fought. And again, I said this before, but, you know, hot take, I'm glad they didn't have the MMPR theme and Adam got his own original badass theme. I loved getting to showcase their civilian fights. The idea of a team of random veteran Rangers forming a team to sort of replace the active team currently was really cool. Even though there's some plot holes there's plot holes everywhere in Power Rangers, the very idea of Thrax and the fact they designed a cool suit for it was awesome. It's just filled with so many cool moments. Return of so many of my favorite characters, and it kind of celebrated a little bit more of an overall legacy, even though it was like primarily Disney era and MMPR. But it's the one that I personally enjoy the most. Not to mention, just random hot take here, I rewatched some scenes from it in prep for this video, and it's funny, no shade, even though I'm kind of throwing shade by saying this, but, you know, it's kind of crazy that the fight scenes and stuff in Once a Ranger look better than the fight scenes in Once and Always. Not that it looked bad, because like a lot of the civilian scenes look cinematic, but it's like, man, this actually doesn't still look real deal professional, but it looks kind of better to me. Maybe that's just me. But anyway, that's just my list. Let me know what your guys' ranking is for the anniversary specials in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you can get notifications for all my videos. Awesome Rider, signing out.